Welcome, everyone, to our expert series, the next in our continuing series of podcasts. Today's topic is called Natural Gas Economics and Energy Policy, What Happens When They Don't Agree? And today we are very fortunate to have as our expert speaker, Mr. Ed Hers. Ed is CFO of DJ Resources, an independent E&P company that's been one of the leaders of the Niobrara play in the Denver Basin. Ed has worked in corporate finance in Houston since 1982. He started his career with internships and consulting assignments with Mobil Oil and the U.S. Department of Energy. Ed teaches a course called Economics of Energy at the University of Houston, and he's taught there since 1988. In addition, he has taught finance at Rice and a course on econometrics at Yale. And Ed's a CFA charter holder, and he received both not only his BA and MA in economics, but also his MBA from Yale, where he also chairs a National Energy Conference. So with that, I'd like to welcome Mr. Ed Hers.
Thank you very much. We're going to start with some of the public perceptions of natural gas. And to illustrate this is a lovely letter, an excerpt of which is here on the slides, from September of 2007. Governor Jody Rell is complaining to Congress about high prices of natural gas in her state, Connecticut. At the same time, while producers in the Rockies are laying down rigs and shutting in supply, Aubrey McClendon of Chesapeake responds, and he says, hey, look, you're wrong. These natural gas prices are not too high because, well, the price of crude oil is up, and natural gas hasn't kept step with that. Well, that's not entirely accurate. Natural gas and crude oil have not been substitutes in the United States for decades. Now, second, he's dead on target. Chesapeake was not the culprit because there is no way that a producer such as Chesapeake could be manipulating prices. And third, he says, well, the price volatility may be due to a natural rhythm of commodity markets. This is not entirely true either. The fact is, we had a well in the Rockies at this particular point. We got as little as $1 an MCF. Spot prices dropped as low as a penny an MCF during September of 2007. This gas was stranded gas. There was too much supply in the Rockies. There was no way to get this gas to Connecticut to relieve the problems of a shortfall, if you will, and the high prices that were there in Connecticut. So let's take a look at what the current administration's policies are, or the stated policies, the goals of the current policy. One is to improve electricity transmission, double the supply of renewable energy, eliminate carbon emissions, establish an efficient natural gas transmission system, and eliminate dependence upon foreign crude. Now, natural gas is important because it's considered to be a bridge fuel, the primary energy source to replace coal for electricity generation, pending more renewable fuels and more nuclear plants. The greater use of renewables is very interesting because that's going to require more natural gas due to the intermittency of solar energy and wind. And then, in terms of eliminating where we're going on foreign crude, natural gas is probably not going to play a role in that for, at least the next decade. Now, what were some of the past policies in natural gas? Well, we regulated prices from wellhead to the consumer for decades, from the 20s to 30s all the way through to 1978, when a string of very cold winters and lots of people going cold in the Northeast led Congress to act to begin to deregulate the industry. The gas deregulation created all sorts of different levels of pricing, presumably not to reward past production and past behavior, but to reward new development, new wells, new supplies coming online. And this deregulation, while it was well intended, was not complete. The pipelines remain constrained by licensing and by price caps, rates of return. And so in between the producers and the consumers, the delivery system, the transmission system was constricted. It wasn't allowed to expand and grow and provide the avenues that are required to meet the growing demand for natural gas. And so what has this led to? And here we have a slide that illustrates the difference in prices between a producing market in the Gulf Coast and a consuming market in the Northeast. In particular, we look at the winter of 95, 96, and the winter of 02-03, where we see producers receiving $2 an MCF less than consumers were paying. The next slide illustrates that this is not just a problem between the Gulf Coast and the Northeast, where of course, there hasn't been a new pipeline built since the 60s, but also the problem between producing regions in West Texas and the consumer in California. The famous winter of 2000-2001, we had gas prices spiking as much as $10 an MCF between the delivery point in Waha and the exit point in Southern California. And so this begs the question, why is there a shortage of transmission capacity? And what we see is the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC, continues to limit access to markets. Markets that are required to balance the needs of producers and consumers. The pipelines need to be built to serve the opportunity of getting product to market. FERC limits the actual access by licensing pipelines and gives rate of return regulation that restricts what pipelines can charge for transmission. This slide, prepared by Paul McAvoy in his book, illustrates that the rates of return gathered by pipeline companies are essentially not more than a return on capital. There is no incentive to create economic value, there is no value creation, and there's certainly no incentive to go out of one's way to build new pipelines to open up new markets for consumers and for producers. And to illustrate, today, approximately 2 BCF a day of natural gas is now replacing coal-fired power at electricity generating facilities around the nation. But because we do not have the transmission capabilities, we are not going to see much more gas going into these coal-fired plants to reduce carbon emissions and to better attain the goals of current energy policy. Going forward, we can look and say, well, gee, what about natural gas as a substitute for crude oil? Crude oil is the primary source of transportation fuel in the United States, refined as gasoline or as diesel. And here we have a slide that illustrates how the United States trails Pakistan and Brazil. These are very small economies with much smaller populations. These countries each have more than 1 million natural gas-fueled vehicles. The United States today has less than 200,000 of these vehicles. We do not have the infrastructure in place, nor do we have a way yet of delivering natural gas around the nation in such a way that we could fuel a transportation fleet. This is going to take some time to develop. Back to you, Chris.
Thank you very much, Ed. That was very informative and interesting as well. Much appreciated. Just a quick word from our sponsor here of these Expert Series podcasts, WellPoint Systems. We deliver software solutions and services that are aimed at transforming complex data into business insights. Our solutions are used by more than 450 oil and gas companies in 60 different countries. We've got award-winning products that you may have heard of, like Bolo, Ideas, Energy Financial Management, and Energy Broker. And we also serve asset-intensive industries like aerospace, process manufacturing, mining, and the public sector with the Daxium asset maintenance solutions. And finally, I just want to point out, in addition to hearing these Expert Series podcasts, we've also got other offers on the wellpointsystems.com websites, including a special white paper called From Chaos to Confidence in Oil and Gas, Finance and Operations. You can get this at the website. We look forward to hearing you on other podcasts. And thank you again, Ed.
Thank you.